Hi, Pamela Ann Ezel here with Easy Messages. Messages that will help you to be able to command your will with such precision that you can even put a date on it. Would you like to know what even easy messages are? And perhaps you'd also like to know, how did I even discover them, and also learn about how they immediately began to bless and uplift my life. And the last thing is, but the most important thing is, would you like to be able to know how to be able to start applying that in your life today? Well, hang in there, and I'm going to share with you my story of how I first began to learn about easy messages and how they began blessing my life. And at the end, we'll discuss how you too can be able to have that happen in your life right now. If you find this information valuable, consider subscribing below and also sharing it with others. It's very contagious, and it will also profoundly bless your life and help you stay on that path to stay awakened to how to be able to command that world with precision. All right, so what happened to me is my first memory. Now, if you notice, since I'm describing these things to you, I'm going to just basically give the highlights. I'm not going to go into detail because I prefer to release you of vicariously experiencing what I went through. Some things you just choose to just give the basic details and then go on to what it is that you'd really like to address and share that will be more uplifting. But initially, my first memory was not all that great of a one, and it was of my father molesting me at 18 months. My mother seeing what happened because she was aroused by the noises of her little child and thinking that she had left this situation but had married it instead. And with that, she started to grow a cancer in her sinus cavity, which caused her to lose control of her eyes that saw her worst awakened nightmare. And by the time I was 2, I was taken away from my mother because she was so ill that she was not able to care for me any longer. And by the time I was 2.5, she had passed away. So I was left with my predator and no mother. In other words, I didn't have parents. Well, that was not the best way to start life, in my opinion. However, I learned that every experience can be for your good. Even experiences like this could be for your good, in that it motivated me to search for something better in my life. And at 3, I was able to find it. So when I was 3 years old, I had been taken away at 2 to go live with my grandmother, maiden aunt, and my brother, who was 16 months older than I, was also there while my father cared for my mother until she passed, and then he came to join us. And when I was 3, I was pondering the word eternity. You see, someone had said in eternity I would be able to see my mother again and we would be together. And I was motivated. I wanted to know what this place was. I really truly desired to understand what is eternity, and what is the situation that I am seeking. And as I pondered that word eternity, these beautiful bands of swirling colors began to form, and they went on and never ceased. And I understood immediately what eternity was. It was a beautiful place that my mother and I would be able to come together again, and we would never be separated. And that was so comforting to me. I mean, at 3, to completely understand that, I love that. And after that, anytime I desired to know anything, this loving being in the form of a male would come and teach me anything I desired. He knew everything about me. He loved me. He had a great sense of humor, and he never got upset or disappointed in me or lost his patience in me if I did something that caused my personal happiness to be diminished. Some people would refer to it as making a mistake, but what happened is I just didn't have life experience to know how to be able to make some choices that would bring me goodness or some choices that would diminish my personal happiness. And so instead of being upset with me, he would sorrow with me for a moment. And then he would teach me what I could do to overcome and master that situation and learn from it and become stronger because I had that experience in my life. I knew who this being was and how perfect it was that he was in the form of a male, so I could start immediately developing great, wonderful male relationships in my life. But I knew that his name was a very sacred name, and I was not to take it as commonplace. So I immediately referred to this amazing, loving being as my master teacher. And that's how I refer to him, as my master, my master teacher. And to this day, I still have him in my life. And I love and adore him. He has brought me such happiness and such goodness. And he's known by many holy names, by many, many holy names. But for me personally, is Jesus Christ himself, my personal Redeemer. And definitely an amazing teacher, that's for sure. Anyway, as my life progressed, he introduced me to other loving beings who cared about me, who really desired for me to be successful in anything my heart desired. And some of those loving beings were my ancestors, who paved the way for me to be able to have this wonderful life and these successes, and to come in this day and age that I desired to come to. And also my progenitors, who really give a darn if I'm successful or not, because I'm paving the way for them. And so they love to be able to create with me. And along with that, angels and the intelligences and the elements that create, that form everything and can be reformed over and over again as well. And he taught me about how I was capable of being able to command those things to form and reform even myself, with the weather and just my situation around me. I love that knowledge that I really did have the power to command my world to form and to be reformed if I chose to go a different direction. If I've learned everything about that and I would like to learn more. He taught me that I was created to have joy in this life, and that if I'm not having joy, I'm not connected to him, that I've shut down and I'm not allowing this flow of this goodness to come through into my life. He taught me that he was the God of miracles and still is the God of miracles, yesterday, today, and forever. And that everything that has been written about him and what he has done for people in this world, past, present, and in the future, are examples of what he's prepared to do for me and you as well. So I have loved the things that have happened in my life. I've learned so much. And he shared with me that I was here to gain experience. That's the main key here, is get experience as much as you possibly can, and to learn how to harmonize my life with everything and everyone that touches it. Wow. Just that in itself is a big key to my being able to be a profoundly happy person. And as my life progressed, my father, who was ill, continued to harm me and molest me. And he finally got married and had a new wife in his life, and she had children and more people for him to harm, and including the neighborhood and everything else, the peeping Tom stuff. It wasn't exactly the best wonderful way to be able to go to school and be known that, hey, your dad's the peeping Tom of the neighborhood. But such was what I was learning about. And I can remember I really desired to have a new mother in my life. Oh my goodness, I would love to have a mother in my life. And I was so excited about having older siblings too. However, they were not happy in this life that they were experiencing with this person, and they would take out their anger on me. And now, this is not woeful. Let's throw people under the bus. This is not what any of this is about. It's just touching on some of the circumstances that help to awaken me to what I would prefer instead. For me to acknowledge what I would like to release from my life and what I would prefer to bring into my life instead. So that's the key here. It's not let's point a finger at who was unkind to who, because they actually were learning experiences for me to seek for something better. So what happened is, in grade school, I was praying, and I was visiting with my master teacher as well. And what I was asking for, and I was praying to my Heavenly Father and also my Heavenly Mother, and including my master teacher in this discussion that I was having. And this is what the discussion was. Basically, I desired to know what I could do to change, because it was obvious that these people were not happy with me. And I was willing to change because I desired to have a family who loved me. And as I shared these feelings, my master teacher came to me and comforted me And he shared with me that there was nothing I needed to change, that I was capable of giving love and receiving love. And that was not the problem here. The problem was these were miserably unhappy people that had a situation going in their lives, and they were so frustrated in not being able to take it out on the person who was creating it that they took it out on me because I was safer to be able to release those feelings on. So I was, in essence, the scapegoat to heap up the resentment and the anger and feelings, to try to help mitigate and lower it in them. And what they told me was, instead, my master teacher directed me to hold my feelings to myself of frustration and disappointment and manifest love instead, to share love for them, because, and this was so important, because if I would do this for a season, they would bless me with everything my heart desired. These heavenly beings would bless me with everything my heart desired, but especially a husband that loved me. Wow. To be loved by your spouse was really an important thing. And that was something that was very comforting for me. It really helped me for them to understand that it wasn't me that they were angry with, that it was the situation. And for me not to escalate the situation by being angry in return and being resentful, to be forgiving instead. As an adult, well into my 60s, I can see the merit of this on so many levels, because when I allowed myself to forgive these people and have compassion instead, and an understanding for the plight that they were in, that I was in with them, it just changed my being. It helped me stay open to receive this love and this guidance from those that created me. Had I been resentful and bitter and angry, I would have shut down this portal of pure knowledge and intellect that flows into my being. It's this information, this eternal information, is so powerful and so important. I was so blessed in that when he revealed this to me, every time he would share his holy words with me, it would be woven into the very cells of my body. I would never forget it. It was woven in through the Holy Spirit, that can weave into a person's body this information, and they will never forget it when it is done in this manner. And so at any time I could draw from this information whenever I desired it, and I would already know how to apply it, because it was a form of a pure intelligence download in my body. I didn't have to decipher it. I didn't have to translate it. It was understood. And that in itself was such a blessing of comfort and guidance for me that lasted to bless me for the rest of my life. When I was in junior high school, I can remember looking out the window and seeing a young man come